Guys, okay, listen. I was just thinking. Now, shh, zip it. Just listen. What if, now just bear with me, what if we wear masks for so long, even after the virus has been dealt with, even after we've had vaccines and whatever? We just keep wearing masks because it becomes a norm. We become used to it, to wearing masks. So much so that future generations just wear masks and don't even question it. They're like, oh yeah, no, this is just how life is. And then just bear with me, okay? And then your nose and your mouth become private parts. Like a mask is underwear for your face. And what if people feel uncomfortable leaving their house without wearing masks because it's like they're naked? They're like sluts, showing their nose and shit.
5 what-if theories to keep you up at night. What if everything behind you disappears, but when you look back, it reappears? With no eyes, we can't see color, right? So what if there's a whole aspect to life that we're missing because we don't have the right organ to detect it? What if 1111 actually works? There's just someone wishing every time that our wishes don't come true. What if the meteor that killed the dinosaurs was actually a UFO, and we are the aliens? And finally, what if every time you think you hear your name being called, it's actually just your family trying to wake you up from a coma? Just something to think about with these 5 what-if theories to keep you up at night. Part 2. What if April Fool's is actually on April 2nd and we've been April Fooled this whole time? What if the reason dogs love destroying shoes is because we always put them on before leaving? What if the best solution to hunger, overpopulation, and crime really was cannibalism? What if birthmarks are the places that killed you in a past life? And finally, what if you went back to the past to get a second chance with no memory of time traveling? Well, that moment could be right now. Pretty trippy to think, right? Comment down below more ideas for part 3 of...
Imagine if every time you were dreaming, you were actually just viewing yourself in some weird alternate reality. Crazy, right? Here are some what-if questions that are bound to make your brain hurt. What if April Fool's was actually April 2nd and we've been April Fooled this entire time? What if we're all just characters in a novel and every time you forget what you're about to say, it's the author just hitting backspace? What if after you die you meet God and he says, "So how was heaven?" What if the light at the end of the tunnel is just you opening your eyes in your next life? What if we could actually live forever, but oxygen is a poison that's slowly killing us? What if only you are real and everything else is just a simulation? It's time to wake up.
This is what would happen if every single girl on Earth disappeared. About 4 billion girls would be immediately wiped out and the boys would be left to fend for themselves. And while some people might be excited at first, things wouldn't work out for very long. As it turns out, more than 70% of the people in medical fields are actually female. And with the lack of medical attention, people would be dying left and right. Also, the entire school system would likely collapse. This is because most college students and professors happen to be females. On top of that, 30 countries would lose their world leaders and the world would largely fall into chaos. And unfortunately, the boys would be left lonely until they inevitably go extinct. Here's what would happen if every boy on Earth disappeared. Half the human population would immediately vanish. And quite honestly, the girls might have a blast at first. Of course, until they realize they're out of water. This is because almost all of the water treatment operators are men. Then it is likely that all the power around the world would go out later that night, because men happen to make up 90% of all electricians, engineers, and mechanics. And of course, the world itself would likely soon fall into chaos, because 70% of all world leaders happen to be men. This of course would likely lead to a global apocalypse and the extinction of the human race.
Here's what would happen if you were swallowed by a whale. This is highly unlikely to happen, but it's not impossible. First, you would be shredded by its 50 razor-sharp teeth that are all as big as a kitchen knife, but let's say you get past the teeth. Then, you would slide down the whale's throat and find it very hard to breathe because of the lack of oxygen. After that, you would drop into the first of the whale's 4 stomachs, and then you would feel hydrochloric acid eat away your skin. But as you go from stomach to stomach, the acid would continue breaking you down until you turn into a skeleton. And then you would get pooped out a couple hours later.
Here's what would happen if you were swallowed by a snake. First, it would kill you by constricting your body until you can't breathe anymore. Then it would open its mouth and absolutely cover you in saliva so you're easier to slide down into its stomach. Then its toxic stomach acids would dissolve you whole. And this guy actually tried this. He wore a bulky suit covered in pig's blood and the anaconda tried to eat him for a whole hour. The man almost lost his life. Some people really are just crazy.